In today's video, we're checking out an affordable field monitor from the folks over at Andycine. This is their X5. This features a 5.5-inch touchscreen display. It also supports HDR. Let's get into it. Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, I'm going to give you a quick overview here of the Andycine X5. Now, this is a compact 5.5-inch touchscreen display with a maximum output resolution of 1920 by 1080 or full HD. Being that it's touchscreen as well, it's nice and easy to get through the menu system, and we'll cover that in just a moment. Before we get into this video, a huge thank you to Andycine for sending this out for the review. I really appreciate it. If you want to check this out, I'll link it down below. Here we go. The Andycine X5 allows for a maximum 4K 60 signal to be passed through it. And if you're running a 4K 60 signal into this, you'll see a 1080 display on screen here, but if you run it out into a 4K monitor, you'll still get the full resolution, which is awesome. The X5 fully supports custom 3D LUT, so if you want a preview LUT of your choosing, you can upload it thanks to the USB port underneath. One of the big upgrades over other monitors I've reviewed from other brands is that we get an aluminium or aluminum housing here, and this is nice and light, only weighing 0.5 kilograms. There's three ways we can power this. We've got our battery compartment on the back, and this works with the Sony NPF style batteries here, which is killer. Just click it into the back and you're good to go. On this side over here, we have our DC in 12 volt plug. There's also a USB-C port underneath, so if you want to run this for an indefinite amount of time, you can just hook it up to USB-C power delivery. Interestingly enough, we've got three 1/4-20 screw points. There's one on the top on this side, one on the right-hand side if you're looking at it from the front, and also one underneath. There's also a headphone output underneath as well, so if you want to monitor your audio, you can do that also. On the top of the unit here, we've got our menu button and some preset custom function buttons. You can program this to do whatever you like. We get some cooling or ventilation on this side and also over here, which is a nice touch, so it won't overheat. The power button is located over here, so all you have to do is hold this down for a few seconds and it will boot, and you can do the same to turn it off. The native aspect ratio of the monitor is 16:9, which is your typical widescreen aspect ratio, again with a native resolution of 1920 by 1080. The X5 has a contrast rating of 1000:1, which means the darkest parts will be 1000 times darker than the brightest parts on screen. This has hybrid log gamma or HDR support as well, so if you're rocking a HDR setup, it will work with this. The Andycine X5 also has a maximum brightness of 1200 nits, so it's nice and bright. If you're working in the studio, you won't even need it past about 25% or so. It is very bright. Now, just remember, if you're shooting outside on a bright sunny day, you'll need a sunshade hood, and again, that's not included in the box. Now, before I share with you what's in the box, I want to talk about why you would want to use a field monitor like this. It really is a huge advantage over just using the rear screens on a lot of cameras, especially some of the older ones that don't have very good resolution. If you like to pinch the zoom, for example, having a field monitor really makes the world of difference. You might also find this really helpful anytime you're using a live streaming setup without a monitor. If you just want to pack light and portable, these make for great additions to something like an A10 Mini or any of the switches that I've reviewed on the channel so far. The touchscreen interface and tools are what makes this special, and I'll share with you all of that in just a moment, but we're going to talk about what we get in the box. So first up, we get the X5 camera monitor. We get a single HDMI to micro HDMI cable and a standard HDMI to HDMI cable, which is fantastic. So depending on your camera system or setup, the cable in here will work, which is great. We get a hot shoe mount for mounting this on top of your camera, and we also get a hex wrench or Allen key so you can make adjustments to it and lock it off in the right spot. Up next, I'm going to cover how to use the Andycine X5 monitor. So if you double tap the screen here, it brings up the menu. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. Tap it again and it will take you back to the main screen. If we swipe up and down on the right hand side, it will adjust the headphone volume if you're monitoring with earphones. And on the left hand side here, it will change the backlight. That's 100% there, and where I had it was somewhere around here, and it's plenty bright in the room here. Even with the studio lights on, I would have no problem seeing this. By swiping up on the screen here, we've got access to this quick menu, so if you want to turn on something like focus peaking, for example, we can do that just at a quick touch of a screen. Not a button, but a screen. As I mentioned earlier, there's three function buttons, so if I tap the first one on the top, it brings up all waveforms. So this is our default all waveforms. As you can see, we've got all the different tools here. Hit it again, it will take us back to this basic view that I've got set up right now. Now we've also got the center marker on off by default on function button number 2. I like leaving that on, so I'll leave that on. Number 3 brings up the safety frames. These are safety markers, so if you don't want to accidentally have something cropped out, you can leave this on. The button on the far right is our menu button, and you can use the button on the left of it to get out of the option as well. So if you don't want to tap on screen, you can use custom button 3. When you're in this menu, hit it again and it will take you back to where you started. Alright, so let's double tap on screen here. I'm going to show you some of the tools. So all waves is what we've already seen. It's this view here with everything on. You might find that too busy, or you might not need it all. So I'm going to turn that off. You can go just down to waveform here and we'll turn that on. Pops up on the lower right hand side. You can also change the transparency level of things as well here. And if you want to change the mode, you can change it from using these menus. It gives you all these different tools. A lot of cameras don't have a lot of these type of tools here, and this is why you would want a field monitor. And to turn that all off, go down to vector scope here. Vector scope is something I actually have on my cameras, but if you want to nail skin tones, this is a really handy tool. If you're used to working with a Sony camera, you'll know this one very well. This is histogram. There's also an RGB version of it here, which is number 2, and RGB1. Most people like to use it on the Y option. Focus assist is another one of my favorite options here. Put it on green like this, and you can easily see what's in focus at any given time. Now, if we go back into that menu, for example, we can adjust some other parameters like how obvious the peaking is. We can turn it up or down. Embedded audio is a really helpful tool if you don't have an output on screen from your camera like I do right here. This will bring up an audio level metering on the left-hand side over here. Check field's an interesting option that allows you to cycle through a few different color modes, which might come in handy depending on your shooting scenario. Like most of these modern field monitors now, we also have false color, which can help you nail exposure. And there's a chart over here on the right-hand side letting you know exactly where middle gray is. From the marker option over here, we've got our grids. Now, I leave this on by default on a lot of my cameras, but I love having the rule of thirds on screen anytime I'm framing a shot. It really does make it easy. It's just something that I've started using in recent times, and it's great to see this built in. Now, you can, of course, change the color of this as well if you don't want it to conflict with another grid or safety marker that you've got on screen. We also get safety frame markers on screen as well. You can set up the threshold at which they kick in. So this is at 90% here. And if we go to 80, you'll see that it's much smaller. Now, there's also a few different aspect ratio markers on here, 235:1, and there's also 9:16, which is for vertical video work. By changing my camera into 6K open gate, I've changed the preview aspect ratio here. So what we're going to do now is turn this back on and go into 9:16. And as you can see now, for shooting vertical content, this makes a whole lot more sense. From the image menu here, we've got our scan mode, which can be either set to linear or overscan. We've got our aspect ratio, which has been set to automatic. You can, of course, customize this. This is the input signal. So if you're only shooting with 16:9, you can use that. But I just leave it set to auto, and it automatically adjusts depending on the mode of the camera I'm in. Anamorphic support on this is awesome. We can turn it on, and then we can select between a few common presets, and then we can also use this bar to select a specific one if it's not just from the quick menu here. So all anamorphic lenses are a little bit different, and this will fully support anamorphic shooting. We've got image flip, which allows you to flip the monitor either horizontally or vertically. There's also a zoom mode here as well. Now, we can turn this on, and it will automatically punch in by the amount that we select, or we can use the slider. But I much prefer just being able to use the pinch gesture here to zoom in like this. This is a lot easier and faster. We also have a pixel to pixel mode over here, which simulates that of it being punched in pixel to pixel mode. From the user option over here, we have our LUT library, and by default, there's all of these already in here. So odds are if you've already got one of these cameras, you won't need to upload it unless you want to upload a custom LUT, and you can store up to 32 internally, which is fantastic. And you can turn it on just by hitting the on button here. Being that I'm not shooting in log right now, it's going to look a bit funny on the screen, but that's how you get into this option. To upload a LUT, you need to use a little dongle that's provided in the box and have a properly formatted USB disk. You can upload those LUTs directly into this unit. If you want to shoot with HDR, you can turn it on from this HDR menu. We've got some display adjustment tools which don't affect your end result. It's just about the brightness and contrast of the monitor itself. You can also set up a custom white balance for the screen. So for example, you might be shooting RAW and you want to preview this at a particular color temperature. You can do that from this menu. You can also customize the function keys that we spoke about earlier. By default, custom function button 1 is on all waves. But say for example, I want to use focus assist here. Now if I get out of this, hit F1 on the monitor at the top. My focus peaking is on. Awesome. One of the powerful features on the Andycine X5 is that you can store up to 4 different users or presets essentially. So I could set this up on 1 for the way that I like to use it. Someone else can use it for 2, or if I'm shooting in a different scenario, I can have it all saved to different locations. So if I'm in the studio one day, out in the field on the next, I might need different tools, and that's where you can set them up and save them. The on-screen display settings here allow you to customize how long the menu will stay up, as well as some of the transparency levels here. So if you want it more transparent so you can see more of what's going on, you can change this. This just relates to the menu system. By default, the cooling fan is on. I'm just going to leave this set like that. If you go into the reset option, you can reset this to factory default. And for those who want to update the firmware, you can do so from this menu option on screen. Thanks for watching, folks. My name's Shane, and massive thanks again to Andycine for sending this out. I'm going to give you my thoughts about it. So, interestingly enough, I've had a chance to review and test a whole bunch of these field monitors now, and I've got to tell you, they're all pretty much the same, minus the build quality. The touch functionality on this is fantastic, and if you're thinking about getting a field monitor, and even if you're on a budget, I would still opt to save up for one that has touchscreen functionality. If you just have to work with the function buttons along the top, it's a bit of a tough slog when it comes to getting through the menus and setting it up fast and easy. So I can highly recommend getting a touchscreen monitor. And for the price at $169.99, I think this is an absolute steal. Minus the fact it doesn't come with a battery, minus the fact it doesn't come with a sunshade hood, the unit itself is really high quality, and these are things that you can add after the fact if you need them. But this might not be the brightest monitor I've ever tested, but it's right up there. 1200 nits brightness is excellent, so I have no problems recommending it in terms of its brightness and screen and resolution, all that kind of stuff. Everything's just so easily laid out. It's not complicated to get through, and if you've seen any of my review videos of any of this Andycine gear up until this point, the menu system's identical basically, so it's very easy to navigate your way around and learn what works for you for your particular shooting scenario. But this is a great little unit, and again, the build quality far exceeds the price point of this, and yeah, I would buy this in a heartbeat over some of the plastic ones I've tested in the past. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good unit. Let us know what you think. Thanks again for watching. My name's Shane. I will catch you on the next one. See ya.